Hey everyone, welcome to a special episode of Holding the Line with Got Your Six, the PSA series. I'm Christina, and together with Peggy, we are going to bring you some special topics that are important, but don't need a whole pod to dissect. We're going to talk about HIPAA, ethics, patient care, and other areas specifically related to the first responder and military community. Again, this is not therapy. Call a professional. But without further ado, buckle up and let's get this thing started.
Welcome back to Holding the Line, PSA edition. Today is not a light episode. This is a deep dive into conversion therapy, what it actually is, what the research says, and what the recent Supreme Court ruling means for clinicians, clients, and frankly, ethics across the board. So we need to go into it. What is conversion therapy? What is conversion therapy?
It's gross, is what it is. It's also called sexual orientation or gender identity change efforts. It's any attempt to change, suppress, or redirect someone's sexual orientation or gender identity.
And this includes a lot of different things, and this is why we're talking about it, because the most recent thing is an LPC got this started. Thank you.
Moving on. I will rant about that in a moment.
But that includes talk therapy aimed at correcting identity, religious counseling, behavioral conditioning, shame-based or trauma-based interventions. Let's be clear, this is not a fringe misunderstanding anymore. The American Psychological Association defines these practices as based on false premises that the LGBTQ plus identities are disorders that need fixing. They don't.
Disorder went away. Homosexuality, and this doesn't even count the rest of the alphabet soup. Homosexuality stopped being a mental health diagnosis in 1983 when the DSM-4 came out. Why?
Yeah. This is not something that needs to be fixed.
No. This is this is who we are. And I think the more that we're finding out from the gender identity perspective, the more that we're finding out about genders, this isn't like XX and XY and that's your gender. We have XXY, we have XYY, we have different subsets of it. There's people who are born with XX chromosomes and they're now finding out which is females, AFABs, assigned female at birth. These are people who were born with female sex hormones, female sex organs who don't produce the same level of female sex hormones as kind of traditional, normal females.
Yeah.
So they have more of that male drive, more testosterone, more whatever, right? We're seeing it with people who have PCOS, where there's less of a female hormone production and more of a male hormone production. So anyways, we could do a whole other PSA on gender, which is not the topic of today.
But we need to understand that this doesn't work. There's no credible evidence that conversion therapy changes sexual orientation or gender identity. The methodology is flawed, biased samples, self-report distortions, bad science, worse outcomes.
Yep. And I think the thing that I both love and hate about the research community, and I found this hardcore writing my dissertation, was that if I'm approached, not me personally, but if I as a researcher am approached by ABC organization and they're like, Dr. Rock, we would really like for you to study if people with blonde hair are crazy. You're hiring me to prove your point. So I'm going to do my research. I'm going to show you. And it's like, well, blonde people aren't more crazy than people with pink hair. And the company's going to go, well, we're not publishing that study because it doesn't say what we want it to say. And so the studies that we're seeing are very biased, right? Which is why we have to go in and do meta-analyses. We have to do deep dives into the research and we have to arm ourselves because study A is going to come out and say blonde people are crazy. Study B is going to come out and be like, lies, it's the pink-haired people. So you have to do your research, but more studies now are showing that conversion therapy sucks.
Yep. And we're going to have all the resources for you at the end of this because
I did
a fun deep dive on this for everybody.
He's our research analyst, who I love because I am so tired of reading articles.
And we know that it causes harm consistently.
Yes.
It causes increased depression, anxiety, PTSD, higher rates of substance use and internalized shame, significant increases in suicidality.
Yep.
One of the most cited findings is that LGBTQ plus youth exposed to conversion therapy are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide. That's why I am very happy to see sites like the Trevor Project and things like that
Yes.
be accessible to youth to have an outlet, to have
Yes.
sources of help.
Yes.
So, across multiple studies, tens of thousands of participants, exposure is consistently linked to worse mental health outcomes. Not mixed, not debated, consistent.
Yep. It's torture. We are going to torture you using religious speech and browbeating and shame and guilt to lie about what is biologically inherently who you are as a person. Gross.
It violates ethical standards.
So unethical. Like the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Mhm.
Pediatrics. The American, like they're doctors and they're like, don't do this. American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. They both formally oppose it due to harm, evidence of harm, and lack of evidence that it actually works. APA says don't do it. ACA says don't do it. Although, a member of the ACA said do it. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but like, it goes against do no harm,
Mm-hmm.
autonomy, imposing identity goals, benefits, no therapeutic benefit.
Did you say do no harm because you can't say non-maleficence?
I don't feel like imposing a crystal here because of her and some of her. Like, I feel sometimes it comes into me and I'm like, man, I can't do that. Not this morning.
When she tried to say hypothetically the other day, I about fell the fuck out. And then I was like, hypothetically. And she was like, hypoth. And I was like, just stop before you spit on me.
I love my baby,
Poor
but
girl.
sometimes I'm just like, you know what? It's too early for this.
She's hilarious.
And then it's always going to come with a trauma base. Let's call it what
Yep.
it is. It's identity-based trauma.
Which I feel like there's enough of that already. Current administration aside, who I think has kind of turned the volume up on that quite a bit, there has historically, I remember as a kid, I went to school in a very small town with a very small population of people. And there was a kid in school, he was the grade below me, one of my closest friends, one of the sweetest humans you will ever fucking meet on the planet. And
Yeah.
he was gay. And we all kind of knew he was gay, and he knew he was gay. And like, we just didn't talk about it because you just didn't talk about it in the 80s, right? Like, you just kept it like, okay, he's gay and that's cool. Or like, he's gay and that's not cool. I'm gonna stay away from him. But like, we didn't, I don't know that he was ever bullied outwardly, right? I'm sure that some people did. But I remember like my dad was wildly racist, very staunchly opposed to me having anything to do with the gay kid. And I think it came from a fear that like I would become gay, which like is the most ridiculous thing ever on the planet. But
Trying to catch it.
right, right. Like it's a fucking cold or something. I don't know. But they already have enough of that. There's already enough at home from society. I don't think media portrays gay relationships or gay men, especially very well. I don't think it portrays gay women very well. I don't think it portrays hardly at all members of the transgender community or members who are not strictly gay but are maybe bisexual or pansexual or somewhere along that spectrum, because gender identity is a spectrum, sexual identity is a spectrum, romantic orientation is a spectrum. There's a spectrum for everything, and we're all fucking on it. So I think that there's enough trauma floating about in the ether from society that there already kind of is that, like, they're primed for that, and then you're going to stick them in this situation
Yeah.
where that's all they're getting all day every day.
Yeah, because let's not increase the PTSD symptoms, the long-term psychological impairment, internalized stigma, and moral injury. And
Oh,
we're going to come back to moral injury. It's a whole segment coming,
oh,
especially in religious contexts.
yes, yes.
And for your military population, identity suppression,
Yep.
shame conditioning,
Yep.
authority-based coercion.
And I think a large part of that too comes with, like, I think one of the unspoken things within the military still, especially unfortunately in the officer corps, is racism. And if you have, and I think this flows both ways, right? I remember when I was in, and I don't know if this person follows the podcast or not. Also, please follow the podcast. So I'm not gonna like out them or their struggles because I know they like approached me as a friend. But I remember watching this particular individual who was outwardly gay during a Don't Ask, Don't Tell time, but in a very supportive environment. I overheard a comment from somebody else, a peer, saying, "Well, of course she's going to get she's going to get this job, so not like a rank promotion, but like a job promotion because she's never going to have kids. So she's going to get it ahead of me because I have kids."
Yeah.
And so there's this assumption that if you're gay as a woman, as an AFAB, or as a whomever, you're not going to have children, which is not true. I know lots of gay couples that have children, and this particular individual does have children now. So like, fuck you. But there's a stigma against it, and there's also a stigma towards it of like, well, of course this person got the promotion because she's never going to have children, or of course he didn't get that job because nobody wants his flamboyant ass around the office, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. But this doesn't become therapy anymore. This becomes psychological injury.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's
And then it
not
makes our
what we're
job
here
harder.
for. Well, yeah.
No.
Or your therapist becomes the villain.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is absolutely terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we're the problem.
Yep.
Not us, but yeah.
But therapists as a, yes. I find, well, we are a problem, but just in a very different way. A menace.
The new Supreme Court ruling.
Ugh, March 31st, 2026. That was less than a month ago.
In an 8-1 ruling against Colorado's ban on conversion therapy for minors. The court framed the ban as a First Amendment issue. The argument restricting what therapists say was restricting free speech. The case was sent back under strict scrutiny, making bans harder to uphold. So, important nuance. The court did not say conversion therapy is effective or ethical. It states that, now that states have ability to regulate speech-based interventions. This is where people are going to get things mixed up, and
Very
it's
twisted.
going and people are going to, fuck it up.
Yep.
Because it does not say you should actually do conversion therapy.
Right. But I also think we should talk a little bit more about what exactly happened. So, Colorado created a law that said you cannot do conversion therapy. They banned it. They said in this state, because the people that decided this are ethical human beings who don't believe in torturing children. Weird. Said you cannot do conversion therapy. It is harmful. It is dangerous. We are banning it across the state. And then this dumb fucking bitch, Kaylee Childs, fucking come for me and you can quote me in saying that, was like, I think that that is inappropriate and I'm going to take it to the Supreme Court. And so she did. And so in Childs v. Salazar, she brought it all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States and said, I think that me not being able to do something that is wildly unethical and harmful violates my right to free speech because I am a talk therapist who engages in conversion therapy. So this was not somebody taking it to the Supreme Court to say we should do it. That was the motive behind her court case. That was her incentive behind it, but she covered it in a very manipulative, backdoor fashion. I want to find the attorney who supported this and string them up by the fucking balls because it was a dude. It was an old white dude too. And found a lawyer who wordsmithed it well enough so that it didn't become her wanting to cause harm, so she didn't lose her license. But her saying, well, this ban violates my First Amendment right to free speech, which is disgusting. It's manipulative as fuck.
because now there's a lot of legal protections that are going to weaken because the ruling impacts 20 plus states with similar
Yep.
bans.
Yep.
So providers are going to feel emboldened.
Mm-hmm.
Enforcements are going to become harder and gray areas
Mm-hmm.
increase because like that's
Yep.
where that nuance comes into play. It's like, what am I allowed to do now?
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yep.
not let's not play games with people's minds.
Can we not? Can we not? I will be posting, by the way, the actual, because I have the ruling like pulled up here that like it's a PDF document. It is, how many pages is it? 66 pages. So if like you got nothing else better to do and or reading Supreme Court case law really turns you on, or I don't know, you're fucking it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep, you can read it. I will post the link to we'll link you directly to it and you
So
can read it because it's
because
disgusting.
yeah, and we're shifting from regulation to liability too. Experts are already predicting the shift forward. Civil
Yep.
lawsuits from survivors, malpractice
Mm-hmm.
claims, ethical
Mm-hmm.
board complaints, because even if something is legal, it can still be neglectful and harmful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like this is a harmful area that people are moving into. You can be a religious counselor and not do this kind of things. You can
Correct.
hold spaces in those areas and not do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
you can practice without doing conversion therapy.
Right.
This is harmful.
Right. And I think so the original law that Colorado put out there was you can't do any therapy that attempts to change somebody's sexual identity. So the actual law states any practice or treatment that attempts to, and this is in part, any practice or treatment that attempts to change an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity, as well as any effort to change behaviors or gender expressions, or to eliminate or reduce sexual or romantic attractions toward individuals of the same sex. Yet the law explicitly allows counselors to provide acceptance, support, and understanding for identity exploration and development. What I don't understand is that law allows for this dumb twat to do exactly that, right? Because her whole premise was, well, I work with people of all different sexual orientations and gender identities. And some people are happy and some people aren't. And so if they're not happy, I help them go back. Acceptance, support, and understanding for identity, exploration, and development. The law already allows you to do that, which is, I think, what upsets me the most about this is like, again, this is that manipulation piece. This is that, I have an agenda. I have an agenda and I'm going to manipulate the law to get me to do what I want.
Well, and I think this is also, like I made this point, free speech versus standard of care problem.
Yeah.
This is where it's
Yep.
going to start getting messy clinically. Therapy is a
Mm-hmm.
regulated healthcare service, but the
Yes.
ruling is leaning towards therapy as a protected speech.
Which it's not, I mean, it is,
Yeah,
but I can also say shit that's harmful.
yeah, because that's going to start defining the next decade of mental health law.
Yes.
This
Especially
is,
under this administration.
yeah, but like that's what's going to start dictating a lot of our things because if
Yeah.
this starts happening, what next?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
our clinical reality check. If you're going, your treatment goal is to change a client's identity. You are no longer practicing evidence-based care.
And when it comes to, okay, there's a lot of evidence-based care that I'm like, well, I don't agree with that, but it's science, right? Like, I think as a mental health profession, whether you are a social worker, an LPC, an LMFT, so licensed professional counselor, licensed marriage and family therapist, whether you are a clinical psychologist, a school-based psychologist, an industrial organizational psychologist, it doesn't matter what, if you are in the psychology or mental health field, it is backed by science. And as a profession, we are becoming more and more fact science based, right? There are more things looking at now that we have the advent of technology and it's becoming more medical technology and it's becoming wider spread and that stuff. We're able to like look at brain functions. We're able to monitor hormones and how they impact mental health. We're able to look at like what is the mechanism that causes depression? Is it in fact serotonin or maybe it's norepinephrine? And so like that is broadening based on science. And so what I fear with this is now removing us from the science realm. I support talk therapy. I think that talk therapy is incredibly helpful. I think that it is the foundation for everything that we are all like. EMDR is not a talk therapy thing, but it is based in talk therapy.
Yes.
So I support that. And I think that that is so important for us to have. And at the same time, like, you're now just saying that we can say whatever the fuck we want. And it doesn't have to be backed by science.
Yeah. No. Use evidence-based alternatives, affirmative therapy models, trauma-informed care, identity integration work.
Mm-hmm.
Don't step out of the standard of care.
No, that's why we have them. That's
Mhm.
why we have them.
And
Yep.
let's say it plainly, if you're still practicing conversion therapy in 2026 with this level of evidence, with this level of harm documented, that isn't that that isn't ignorance anymore. That's a choice.
Mm-mm. It's a choice. Yeah, and you can fuck right off. I will hold space for people who say things I don't agree with. I've had lots of clients now in the past. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've had many clients who come into my office and say some out of pocket shit. And I'm like, I don't agree with that, right? I work with sex offenders. They say stuff and I'm like,
Yeah, all
I
the
don't agree with
time.
that
All
all the
the
time.
time.
And there are clients where I'm like, that's gross. Stop it. I also have clients where I will say, let's explore that more. Where did you learn that? Right? Help me understand that. I have never, in the 15 years of practice, seriously, like there are times when I'll be like, you need to cut that shit out. But like in terms of like, that this coping skill or this method or this behavior is unhealthy, right? Because it is causing you harm. Let's not do that anymore, right? Like, oh, I'm going to go, drink after an EMDR session. Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. In the 15 years that I've been doing this, in the hundreds of clients that I have seen, I have never, not once, attempted to change inherently who the client is. You could come in and tell me, I had a client once who believed that they were a prophet and were receiving messages directly from God. Now, I don't know. I cannot prove that there is no God. I cannot prove that God does not give this person or any person direct messages, right? As a mental health profession, we look at those people and we're like, you got some hallucination things going on. You got some delusional thought content. And yes, but also I wasn't like, no, you're not. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what is God telling you? How can we work that into a healthy way to cope and live, right? Even as a society, people look at those individuals and go, wow, they're nuts. I look at it like, okay, but is it hurting anybody? Okay, it's hurting you. Let's work on like us not going over the top with our delusional thought content and how can we navigate and manage that a little bit better. Even sex offenders. I have worked with people who are diagnosed with pedophilia, which is a sexual attraction to prepubescent minors. And they have said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, bud, you don't have a choice. Like, this is your sexual orientation. Let's work on healthier ways that we can manage that so that we're not feeding that demon. We're not hurting children. But I'm not trying to change inherently who they are. It's against the law. It is, in fact, a mental health diagnosis. But I'm not going, you're disgusting and a dirty person. It's, this is who you are. Let's work on that. Let's talk about that. Which that comment's going to piss off a lot of people, but whatever. Wait till our next
Yeah.
PSA. I'll piss off a whole other section of people.
We're not going to hand out spoilers on that one yet. But I mean,
I might drink for that one. Just get real unhinged.
there we go.
Anyways.
That'll be fun. But I mean, seek affirming licensed providers because that's
Yes.
what this is about. Because we're
Yeah.
not, a good therapist is not trying to change you.
Correct.
we're here to sit with you and help you understand who you are, why you are, and all of those things, and just have you have good insight about that.
Mhm. Yeah. And if there are things about yourself that you want to change,
It's on you. Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
But
Show up,
it's your choice.
your choice. Yep. And if you are struggling, and I think that there's a lot of people out there who are struggling with
Mhm.
gender identity, sexual orientation, romantic orientation, religious trauma that causes those questions, seek out a therapist with a neutral perspective.
Yeah.
I've worked with clients who are like, well, from a religious perspective, I can't be gay.
Okay.
Okay.
We understand.
Some religions, yes. Is your religion supporting who you are as a person? And I think that's a whole other topic that I don't personally want to touch with a 10-foot pole. But there's a lot of religions out there that tell you that who you are is wrong and you have to be this way, right? And I think that there's a lot of individual, like as somebody who used to attend church, I have been to mass. I was raised Catholic. I have been to mass where I'm like, I don't love what the priest is telling me because it sounds a little culty. And so you have the choice to select a religion, to select a parish or church or what mosque, whatever that building is called. You have freedom of choice to be able to select that feels affirming and supportive to you, the same way you have the choice to select a provider, a mental health therapist who is affirming and supportive and will help you figure your shit out.
This is a hard one for parents to hear because we're not
Mm.
about changing your kids.
No, no.
It's
Don't
not.
come to us and say, my kid's gay, make him not gay.
Yeah,
I-
that is
I'm not
not.
the one.
Yeah, that is not our job. Is to change your kid.
Nope. Nope.
Again, we're going to hold space for them. We're going to help them through it.
Yep.
We're going to help them understand their questioning.
Mhm.
But it is absolutely not our job to tell them, nope.
Yep. And I think we're seeing a lot of concerns from parents. Like I've had several clients over the years who, and I'm not going to call out the religion, but who are members of a specific religion. And the teens, the kids, the young adults are coming and saying, well, I can't come out to my parents as transgender or gay or both, whatever, right? Whatever their orientation is, because they will have to like disown me as a child or risk being like excommunicated from their
Yeah.
faith. And to me, any faith that says you cannot be this thing, I have a problem with that faith. But my personal thing aside, we are, as the provider, we are not just dealing with the identity, right? Sexual identity, gender identity. We're not just dealing with that. We're also dealing with the potential to like lose your support system. And then it becomes a family issue of how do I support my client in the best way possible and then also by default support the family. Because I've had family members, parents who were like, we love our kid. We don't want to lose them as a child, but this is our religious foundation. And so now I become the support for the family also to be like, is this, first of all, is this really the faith for you? But also, like, how do and it's so difficult. And so find that person, that provider who can do that because not everybody can. It's a hard spot to be in. And I do not envy parents who are in that position.
Exactly. Report unethical care to licensing boards.
And if you're not sure how to do it, like go Google. First of all, Dr. Google knows everything, so just go to Google. But like you can Google like how do I report an unethical provider? And it's actually super simple because I had to do it. You just go in there and you fill out a form and you submit it and then it's off to the ether.
Know your rights, and you can leave your provider at any time.
Yep.
Like Psychology Today is there for you, Therapy Den, all the
Therapy den.
things.
Yep.
Go
Dr. Google.
read bios, make sure that you find in the best fit for yourself. Like, get what you need.
Yep.
You don't have to stick with the first one that you find.
No. No. And I think there's also a lot to be said for, I think clients sometimes show up to the intake appointment. And I think you and Brittany touched on this in one of your in one of your podcasts. You can ask me questions at the beginning of every intake I do. This is me. This is my education. This is my foundation. This is how I do therapy. This is, and I'm very honest, like I'm gonna cuss a lot. I'm covered in tattoos. Like you're gonna hear me say fuck to you, unless you're a kid, like a lot, right? If that's not your jam, that's not gonna hurt my feelings. Am I good at what I do? Yes. But if you don't connect with me, right? I'm not the one. And that's, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not going to be insulted if at the end of the intake or at the end of 6 sessions, you're like, I don't think you're the one for me. Cool, cool, cool. Let's find somebody. And I'm going to ask you, what is it about me that like you don't like, that made you uncomfortable? Okay, it's these things. Then don't go see these providers, right? Go to this person. And ask your clinician questions. What is your stance? I had a client years ago who asked me before I even scheduled with him. So first he went up to the front desk. It was not at Got Your Six. It was a previous practice I worked at. He asked the front desk, "Do you have a provider here who is comfortable working with people who are convicted of sex offenses?" And the office manager was like, "Bing, I got one for you." And he actually called me before his appointment and said, "Hey, you're getting a referral for me from my insurance. I just want to make sure that you're cool with this." And I'm like, I love the offending community. Work with me. I'm super excited about that. And I love that he asked that because his previous provider, once she had found out that he was convicted of a sex offense, was like, ooh,
Like
yep,
change their demeanor and everything. Because I think
yep.
it's like what me and you that do the offending population. Be
Mhm.
you and Reagan? No, not even
Uh,
Reagan.
no, Janelle has
Okay.
somebody she's working with. I don't know what Reagan's stance is on that.
Okay.
Although I recently came back from MNATSA, which is the Minnesota Association for the Treatment of Sexual Abuse, from their conference last
Mhm.
week. Phenomenal conference. I love going up there. Anytime I can visit friends and write it off as a tax deduction, I'm here for that shit. But I love the conference because it's so educational. And there's people from probation, there's attorneys, there's therapists, people who do the treatment, people who are getting into the treatment, people who do assessments. It's a huge conference. I love it. We should all go next year. Stevie was like, you should have invited us. I'm like, you want to work with sex offenders? What? So like maybe that's something I need to be more talkative about, but I
Yeah,
just kind of like
because like
rant.
not everybody's open to it, and like some
No.
of us are like, let's go.
Hmm. And I think being a CSOTP has opened up, like I'm doing biopsychosexual assessments now, right? I'm doing risk assessments for people who are convicted of offenses, minors and adults. And I think that opens up so many doors for resources, and there's just not enough of us CSOTs out there. And that like to a provider that can, but that's, we're getting off topic.
We just want to make sure that everybody has a good understanding about what this actually is,
Hmm.
how it's going to affect this population, knowing and having an understanding about what you can do. Go to the right ones.
Yep.
If you land in an office that isn't right for you,
Leave.
get out quick.
And I'm a huge proponent of talk to your provider and tell them why. Right? Because I like when people like just disappear off the face of the earth for me, like I take it personally in terms of like, did I do something? Is there something going on? Or like a client will email and be like, I need a break from therapy. And I'm like, was it me? And not from like an insecure place, but from a place of like, is there something in my approach that didn't work for you? And
Yep.
so do you need a referral elsewhere
Yeah.
to improve that approach, right? Do you need a referral so that you get to a provider that doesn't do the same thing that I did? So talk to your provider, but if you don't feel safe or you don't feel comfortable, you get to just fucking leave. People no show all the time. People drop off the face of the earth all the time. You get to do that.
Yeah. And if you're undoing damage from this kind of experience, this is real trauma and it deserves real treatment.
Sure does.
This has been a wonderful PSA from Holding the Line about conversion therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Stay informed, protect your people. Do not confuse ideology with healthcare.
With science. Yes. Because the last word in healthcare is care.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Please like, share, follow. Really tired of hearing her.
Yeah. Also, if you're watching this and you're like, this is really shitty and I don't like the way they do this thing, like, you can give us feedback. We are winging this. Well, let me back up. Peggy's not winging this. Peggy has like structures and outlines and shit. I am winging it. I know Brittany's winging it. We're just out here like doing our thing. If there's something that you don't like or something you want to see more of, our email address is posted. Email us. We will respond.
Give me topics. I will
Yeah.
readily research things for you. No
Yep.
problem. And
Yep.
if you're one of the employees that got your 6 and you're not watching this, come on.
Oh,
Give me a break, guys.
I have a list. We will be addressing that promptly. I told Crystal yesterday, I was like, if you don't like and subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, I am going to fire you before you even show up.
I love it for her. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes, thank
Wonderful
you.
PSA edition.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.
Hey all, thanks for listening to our public service announcement. If you have questions about what we discussed, please feel free to hit us up on the socials, either via email at social@gotyoursixcounseling.net or on our Facebook or Instagram pages. Please, please, please also like, share, and follow our other podcast, Brittany's Side Piece, and our social media so we can continue to reach listeners just like you and continue to help out our community. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.